Welcome to the Roche Idea Lab. Please welcome Angie Howard and Angela Baldwin.
Good morning, and welcome to the Roche Idea Lab. Our Idea Lab is a community where we can come together to discuss the challenges we face as an industry. And it's a space where we can explore how to partner with each other so we can figure out how to solve those challenges. Hi, my name is Angela Baldwin.
And I'm Angie Howard, and we're your hosts of the Roche Idea Lab. I'm the Regional Business Manager with the Molecular Diagnostics franchise supporting the Midwest region. I have 20 years of healthcare experience, 12 of which have been here at Roche Diagnostics in a variety of cross-functional teams. In my role, I have the opportunity to really hear from our healthcare executives and laboratorians. Angela?
Thanks, Angie. And I'm a board-certified anatomical pathologist. I've been working as a pathology liaison in the Medical and Scientific Affairs Division at Roche since April. Now, as a member of the pathology, oncology, and molecular field team, I get to interact with key opinion leaders, customers, and investigators to share the value of our companion diagnostics and educate them on their proper utilization. I also work very closely with other members of our Roche team. It's a very collaborative role where I have the opportunity to educate and learn from internal and external partners. Now, we're both really looking forward to hearing the ideas that our guests are bringing to the stage, as well as your thoughts and insights. If you're part of the conversation yesterday, you heard how one lab is tackling staffing shortages, and today we'll be hearing from another about how they've partnered with local colleges to fast-track staff training. We'll also be hearing more about the role of technology in optimizing workflow in the lab. This continues the conversation we had yesterday about digital ecosystems and the future of healthcare.
As always, we encourage your thoughts and comments, so please look for Angela and I as we come around with roving mics so that we can hear your thoughts as well. So, Angela, let's get started.
Let's go. Now, Wisconsin Diagnostic Labs is meeting the issue of staffing head-on with the development of their own program, partnering with a local college for classroom education. The new program is helping to move non-technically trained staff into technical positions. It's also leveraging the experience and expertise of the lab's more senior staff, who provide hands-on training to mentor the students. Here to share their experiences are Michael Barron, Pearl Albright, and Carolyn Hager. Our conversation will be moderated by our very own Anna Callender. Welcome.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here. I'm Anna Callender. As you heard, I am the account executive at Roche, and I'm the moderator for today's session. But it's actually more of a conversation than a session. A conversation about staffing challenges. It's the same conversation we have just about every day in our own labs. But today we're having that conversation here in the Roche Idea Lab. Now, as we progress through our discussion, we'll be talking about the non-certified tech program. We'll be talking about the apprenticeship program, and we'll understand a little bit more about how they put their program together and some of the results that are coming out of it and the impact on staff. So, to start this dialogue off, I want to just ask everybody in the audience, by a show of hands, do you now work at or work with a laboratory that is experiencing staffing challenges? Show of hands. Let's see them. We've got quite a few. Now, of you who have communicated that there is a staffing challenge, do you know of any grassroots movement or any unique approach that is being taken to solving that, or are people typically approaching that hiring and retention from the same old methodology? New or same? New? Hands. Okay, same. So we see there's a lot of infusion in ideas into today's staffing challenge. People are trying new things, and that's really what we want to get to today, so that you can see and possibly implement in your own lab some of the ideas that we have. Right? So I want to turn first to Mike. Now, Mike, take us back to CLIA 88, if you would, and talk to us about the experiences that you had that sparked the idea that came up with and eventually turned into your program today.
Right. So as most, CLIA opened a door for having non-certified techs work in the lab and meet the requirements that you have. So if you have a certain educational requirement based on your transcript, generally a biology, chemistry type degree, you have the ability to work in the lab. After a year on job experience, you can then become certified through AACC. So that's actually how I started in the lab 31 years ago. So it's nothing new. And I started in 91, came out in CLIA 88, and the lab that I worked with was experimenting with it. So I was part of that experiment. And I like to think it's been successful, moving up through the ranks of the lab, now executive director of a fairly large lab in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I would say that would be successful, but You're not a crash test dummy or anything.
No,
I want to be clear on that.
No, it's been very successful, it's been really rewarding, and that's the main motivation for me of getting this program off the ground. I see a lot of folks like myself that have the bachelor's degree, not sure what you're going to do. The clinical lab gives you a career. You get that on-job experience and you become certified and you move up, through the years, depending on what your motivation is. I'm a former military, so I have a lot of leadership experience. So I think that's why it worked well with me getting into management.
No doubt about it.
Yep.
So tell us I want to hear more about the two specific programs. The non-certified tech program that you developed and the apprenticeship program. Start us off with the non-certified tech.
Yeah, so the idea behind non-certified tech was to have actual classroom instruction in the laboratory. So Carolyn, who's on the end here, is actually, she was working in a different part of the lab. I knew she had some good skills in education, so I asked her to take on the educator role. So we brought in these biology, chemistry degreed folks or similar type degrees and asked her to put through classroom instruction, some information from CLSI looking at the CAP accreditation requirements, what was on the test, and had her put that together. And we actually hired in folks that met the CLIA 88 requirements with the educational background. And we actually put the cart before the horse. We brought the people in before we had the program together, but we really needed to get staffing in now. It did put a little bit of pressure on the staffing, to try to ground root type education on the bench, but I think they're starting to catch up now with the education that Carolyn's been doing in the classroom. So it's like 3 days a week. She could probably describe more detail, with the students. We actually use one of our conference room as the classroom, and she puts together the curriculum and instruction.
We definitely want to touch on that and get more into that with Carolyn, but then frame up first the apprenticeship program.
Yeah, so the apprenticeship program, I started about 3 years ago trying to work with our local college, the Milwaukee Area Technical College. Initially, the idea was that we'd kind of do our own thing. I would get an instructor and either bring them into our lab or we'd bring them to the school, and they would provide the instruction through their normal classroom, type work. They're struggling with getting instructors. Somehow the state got hooked up with MATC, which is the Milwaukee Area Technical College, is who we worked with, and the state was looking at creating apprenticeship through the sciences. So we were the first in the state to have some type of science apprentice type program set up. So we worked with them. So they actually, instead of having a classroom on site, they go to the semester course for the classroom. We started with the core lab. So they're going through chemistry, hematology, urinalysis, and coagulation are the courses that they're taking in the university. So they've taken the spring semester, and now they're going to take the fall semester. That'll be within the year period of time on the job training in between the time that they're being educated. And we're actually paying their tuition and actually paying for their time in the classroom because we want to really give them incentives, hopefully build that loyalty with them so they stick around for a longer period of time. So it's a real positive program. We're not expecting them to pay back any cost in either program, but truly with the idea that we're putting the time and energy, giving you a career that you'll stick in the lab for a longer period of time than what we're seeing typically.
Well, that sounds really generous. Look, I got to ask, is there a dual purpose here? I mean, certainly you're bringing folks in and training them up and giving them this experience, but also isn't that feeding the broader community of professionals in the lab too? Is that part of your objective, or is that just an outcropping?
Most definitely. I mean, this apprenticeship program, that's the main reason why I think it's a great thing, because now any hospital lab and their local community college can set up this arrangement and establish an apprenticeship program. So if you live in the state of Wisconsin, that now is available, and you can create clinical lab scientists in your local area with the local college, and get that classroom instruction and get them up to speed. So I know there's other labs that are actually starting to do that already.
That's a great segue, because that really does get down to the mechanics of the how-to. So we understand the concept and the drivers behind why, and we understand how you've implemented that in your laboratory with the NCT and the apprenticeship programs too. I want to turn to Carolyn. Now, when you get this call from Mike and says, hey, I need you to come over here and do this thing, do you think it's just Mike calling up and giving you one more thing to do? Or is it something that sparked an interest in you and got you interested? Tell me about the start of it.
Well, I was a bit surprised. I was very happy with my position at WDL, though, so I knew that, Mike having the confidence in me to be able to, perform in this role, just kind of gave me the confidence to be willing to tackle it. I know it is a lot of information and a lot of work, and these, students are, trusting me to steer them in the right direction. So there's some pressure there, but I'm excited for the
You thrive on that. You're a laboratory, and you thrive on pressure.
Yep.
So you knew everything going in. You knew exactly what to do.
No, I didn't.
So how did that come about?
Well, just kind of the certification agency kind of had made things a little bit easier, because they have a outline on there with all the materials that they're going to be tested on. We're using practice exams where there's references for textbooks. They're all getting textbooks in all the area. And then we have just a great pool of, pathology and other laboratory techs who are willing to donate time and energy into creating some lecture material and spending time to work with the non-certs, along with the on-the-bench training that Pearl's group and Chuck, our hematology manager, are doing on the bench. So, yeah, they're getting
So what about
hands-on.
the apprenticeship program? What role do you have in developing curriculum, or what their day-to-day looks like?
I am not a part of the apprenticeship program, but I am offering similar resources that I've acquired for the group that I'm working with. And so we have subscriptions, we have other resource and material that I offer to them, and then I'm just there as a support person while they're doing their studies through the instruction. Yep.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, so definitely during the summer they're off, their schooling, so that's a great time for Carolyn to be an additional resource for them. So she's been offering to help with some of those folks as well.
Good. So as I understand what you just said, the apprentices that you have in your lab while they're going to school, they'll work through summer at your lab?
Yes. Yep. So now we got them full time, through the summer. So that's kind of a benefit. I mean, it's somewhat of a challenge to break them free for the time of the classroom, but we think it's time well spent in the long run. And I think the techs that they work with, and Pearl can talk to that better than I can, are feel more confident as they develop with the classroom instruction and more knowledge through on. So I think it's a big plus that they're able to get that.
Well, it really is. I mean, it's just like two different cohorts together and in the same learning environment. I think there's only positive that can come out of that. Pearl, let's hear from you. What does this look like in your day-to-day? How does it actually play out in the lab?
Yeah. So I will say, when we started the program here, bringing these non-certified techs in, staff were very apprehensive about it, and actually there was a lot of resistance from a lot of staff, because they're used to training these techs that are coming out from accredited programs in schools. They have the knowledge of terminology. They have the basic lab skills, pipetting, calculations for math and everything. Bringing these science degree major or bachelor's degree in kind of like just gives them a little bit of apprehensive of them working with patient care and not being able to provide that care that they were instructed to in the classroom of those that have their degrees. So not only are they training, but all bench techs are now teaching. So now they're dual role in explaining these terminology roles to the bachelor degree students that are coming in. I will say students that we did hire, we just didn't hire any bachelor degree. We did kind of field them out and kind of see what is your intent going in for? Why do you want to get into healthcare? So there was some screening going on there. And we kind of, chose we did have an influx of applicants come. So we just made careful choices of who we wanted to come in. And I'm happy to report that since we started in January that they're all successful. They've moved to off shift. So we do our training on first shift. because we are more fully staffed there. And they've moved to their off shifts where they're going to and have had success at that and really have learned it through the teaching with Carolyn and the bench techs training as well. So it's starting to be a positive thing, and like Mike said, there's starting to be more trust involved in these people that are coming on. They certainly still have a lot to learn. It does take longer than our normal, training program, but we are working with them side by side, doing check-ins with them to make sure that they're progressing appropriately. We check in with the trainers, and get their feel on how they're doing, just a two-sided thing, and kind of identify those areas of opportunity where we can improve their strength upon. And then the techs also provide wonderful feedback that we give to Carolyn of what they would like to see, like in the second go around of training, or what can be added to the curriculum, or what's been done before. So like Mike said, that we had put the cart before the horse, but we're learning on this, and I think this is going to be the way that we're going to be introducing new staff into the laboratories as we come into these staffing challenges, so that we can continue and even overhire, knowing that the turnover in this day and age is a lot more than what it was 5 or 10 years ago.
And one important thing to add to this is that this market is flush with people that have bachelor's degrees that don't know what to do with the rest of their life. So if you get to pick from the best of the candidates and you have a pool, not trying to get 1 or 2 techs that you're probably trying to recruit the traditional way. And you can, like I said, you're hiring for the quality of the person that you think would adapt to the lab. We have a very high volume lab with, a lot of, working, through a lot of different areas, a lot of complexity. So not every clinical lab scientist that comes through their school program can handle our level of lab. So we've had even clinical lab science students, not succeed in our laboratory just for that reason. So, but we can hand pick these from a large pool from the sciences that have these degrees. So,
well, I think we all like the sound of that.
Yeah.
Picking from a large
pool as opposed to.
Really? That's ideal. Now, I want to ask a question about the different disciplines in the lab. So when you get the candidates in, do you ask them up front if they have a preference for the particular discipline, or do you watch them as they go through training and observe if they have a particular strength in, for example, heme or coag or chemistry or molecular? How does that all play out?
Yeah, so Chuck and myself, we kind of go through the applicants, see which one they're good at, see which one we're really needing help in, if it's more of the hematology side or the chemistry side. It really depends who we've got going on training in that area currently and how many positions are open. Will we start focusing them on that area to begin with? The idea is that eventually, because most of these bachelors of science are really being placed on our off shifts, so second and third shift, where they are more generalist, so they work both chemistry and hematology. So eventually we would like to get them trained in both areas. So we will continue on with this program, even though they are taught in one area first. It might take a couple years to get them in both areas, but that is our eventual goal, is to get them trained in both chemistry and hematology.
Very cool. I want to go back to you, Carolyn. When we talk about the curriculum and the content and the development, I know you look for the criterion for certification and you go from there. But I mean, where do you get all of the knowledge? I know that there have been people, Katie Golab in particular, who's here in our audience from WDL, who's worked with you to develop content. Does it just materialize, or do you have to go and hunt it?
Well, besides the resources that we have, like Katie and our fellow other lab techs, the textbooks that I've gotten really kind of play along well with the material. They specifically call out certain things that need to be discussed and that they're going to be tested on. And we're focusing them on either taking one test at a time. So we have them specializing in either hematology or a chemistry test. There is a separate test which requires 1 year of on-the-job training. If we were to train them as a generalist, that requires them to also have transfusion and microbiology along in addition, but it's 3 years of training on the bench for them to be certified. And so this allows them a shorter amount of time. And us being WDL being a larger facility, we do have people who are specializing in hematology or chemistry, or doing a little bit of cross training on the shifts. But that allows them to get that certification sooner. And so I think we've been able to recruit people with that shorter time frame, because I think there are some other ones that are doing that 3-year program.
Well,
So,
we all want things right now.
right.
Right now.
Yeah. And that being the reason why I wanted to do both approaches, because I know not every lab can support what we are, because we're a larger lab, we can support hiring in a trainer. A smaller hospital lab may not have that ability. So the apprenticeship program, going to the university gives you that education that you can't develop internally necessarily. So we're trying both. We're seeing how they both work. So far they've been successful, but we're going to continue going down both avenues to fill our ranks.
Yeah, it seems like the apprenticeship program is a less of a heavy lift. It's a lighter lift for the laboratory to implement.
Less involved, right.
But did you have to get any sort of like sign-offs or certifications in order to be a laboratory, or did you just need to collaborate very heavily with the local area technical college?
Yeah, so we worked actually with the state of Wisconsin, so we developed the program from scratch with the state of Wisconsin. They then created a contract based off our curriculum, and that's the same contract that another lab can then work from and design it for their laboratory as well with their local university. So
there you go, leading the way again.
Yep, yeah.
Making it easy for other people.
Yeah, so it should be a really easy process, and the state of Wisconsin did a great job. I mean, we've had different folks lead me through the process. So, the contracting, all that other stuff, I just had to sign my name. Or actually have,
You made Pearl do it.
Made Pearl do it. No, actually it was Jess Carter in the audience here too. She was the one she's now our education coordinator that works with all the students. So she gets that joy.
It's really a group effort then.
Yeah.
Yep, it's a crew effort. It's not just me alone, but it's a lot of good people working together. And that one thing I always say about the lab, we're all facing the same challenges. It's the people in your laboratory and how they come together and work as a team makes one lab better than another. So your goal here is to hire those high quality people, develop a lab that you want to get to, and lead the way. And that's what we do at WDL.
That should be the ending line right there. That's like, ta-da! But
so if you want to come work for WDL, I'm just putting that on there for.
That was such a plug. I admire that in you. You'll always find a way to plug. Come work at WDL. And
no,
you know
we
what?
have a lot of fun there too.
Yeah, we do. We have a good time, but we're always focused on the patient. And I think that's one of the things that draws me to you and really inspires me to work hard for you. So I think we've really run the gamut. I know, Pearl, you have something else to say. I can see it in your eyes. No? No?
I'm open to questions.
But that's probably it. We're open to questions. So what questions arise? How does this translate into your world? Do you feel as though you're empowered to take a stab at exploring an apprenticeship program or starting an NCT, non-certified tech program based on what you've heard today? Maybe? Want a little help? Well, the good news is all three of these wonderful people are available to collaborate with you and help you out. They're a member of the Roche Diagnostic Centers of Excellence program. They're a platinum partner, and they are absolutely open and welcome to provide reference for any and all of you.